Hello, this is Public Advocate, and I'm Shirley Graves. Today we're going to learn about a very important group of people, a project here in, how should I call that, in Marin County Schools Rule. And we have 5 people who are very active in this program who are going to tell us what part they play in it and what it's doing for the community. Starting here with this lady in the lovely green sweater. We have Susan Matthews of Novato. We have Michelin Moretti. How'd I do?
You did great.
From San Rafael. Tricia Garlock from she's the board president of Schools Rule, and Emily Olhorn from Mill Valley. So we're going to start. Let's start with Susan Matthews, and you're the treasurer here. So tell us a little, just get us started with the Schools Rule, and we'll learn a little bit about it, and then we'll start talking about what they do.
Okay. Well, the most basic thing to know is that Schools Rule is a coalition of all of the education foundations for all of the public school districts in Marin County. And we have 19 different public school districts. Most of them, except for the very tiniest ones, have their own individual fundraising foundations. But Schools Rule is where we all come together and work to benefit all the children in Marin, no matter which public school they go to. And it's something that we got started just a few years ago, and it's taking off, and it's really exciting to be part of it. And I've been there since the beginning, so I've really loved seeing it grow.
Well, that's wonderful. So your part in it, and
Yeah, so I am the executive director for Heads Up, which is the San Rafael Public School Foundation, and we are proud to be a member of Schools Rule.
and Tricia Garlock.
And I'm Tricia Garlock, and I'm the board chair of Schools Rule, and have also, like Susan, been involved since the very beginning. Came from Mill Valley, where I was the executive director of the Schools Foundation there for 33 years before I retired, and always felt that, in Marin, some of the districts were very lucky to be able to raise funds to provide the art and the music and the drama and the technology programs for their districts. And other districts had a harder time doing that. So the idea with Schools Rule is we could all come together in order to raise funds for all kids in the districts. So very excited to be part of this organization.
Well, it's a wonderful endeavor. And we have Emily Olhorn at Mill Valley.
Thank you. So I think I'm maybe the newest member of Schools Rule. I've been involved in the Mill Valley School District, working as a volunteer on different levels, and actually asked Tricia if I could join, because this is, I think, the best way to get outside of each of our individual communities and really hopefully be able to impact every kid in Marin County.
Well, that's a wonderful group of people here that already we see that we've got a lot of good workers and interested people. So who would like to tell us really how this group's got started?
Well, I think, whoops, our little poster fell down.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Anyway, I can talk to that. This organization actually started a little over 5 years ago. And that is when the Marin IJ actually came to Mary Jane Burke, who is our superintendent of county schools. And they said, as part of their 150th anniversary, they would like to do something to support education. And so they said that they had space to provide, and how would Mary Jane like to see the word get out. Now you have to realize this was in the height of the recession, where the state of California, and Emily will talk to this a little bit later, that funding for schools in California has not been the same since Proposition 13. And this was a time that even though funding was at a low level, they started slashing school budgets right and left. And so the idea of getting information out to the community about the needs of the schools was really, really, really important. And so we were looking at different ways that this very generous, wonderful contribution of space could be used. And we were looking at individual districts or foundations or the county office. And what we decided is that it was too big a gift to not do something really impactful. So that's when we all came together. Then we decided, okay, we have this wonderful gift. How are we going to be able to get the message out? And that was when we asked Paul Venables of Venables Bell, who's a marketing advertising firm in the city, if they would be interested in donating their time to getting our message out. And they said yes. So we had now 2 kind of founding partners. Marin Community Foundation then stepped in, and those are our 3 really founding partners that took this organization just from an idea into kind of what it is today.
Wow.
And we often look at it as that, you know, it was in infancy. We're just kind of crawling now. We hope to be walking soon, and someday we're going to be a really full-fledged organization that other communities around California and the country can emulate. So we have, when Venables Bell, when we're looking for a name, we asked them to come up with something that could be replicated in other areas. So we have Schools Rule Marin. Could also have Schools Rule San Francisco, Schools Rule Sonoma, Schools Rule Alameda. So the idea of having everybody come together on behalf of all is really kind of a new idea. We haven't seen anybody copy us yet, but we do get calls. How did you do it? How did you get all these individual organizations that are all still working very hard on behalf of their own schools, in their own districts, in their own communities, to come together to work for the benefit of all? So that's kind of how we got started.
Wow. Okay.
And if you want to talk a little bit about the funding for California, or lack thereof, how we got there.
So as Tricia mentioned, Prop 13 really decimated education funding in California, right? And that was, you know, close to 40 years ago now that happened. And it used to be that California was really emulated. We had outstanding schools. We spent, you know, an adequate to a high amount per pupil. And that really changed 40 years ago. And then, of course, it's ebbed and flowed since then. And we had the recession in 2008, 2009, which again decimated school funding. But I think what people, and everybody was sort of familiar with that, right? The state budget was in trouble. I mean, I think most people who paid attention to the news knew that school funding in California had been slashed. But what I think people don't know is that it still hasn't come back up to pre-recession levels. So despite the fact that, you know, we are one of the wealthiest states in the country, right? I mean, if we had our own economy in the world, we would be one of the biggest economies in the world. Despite that, despite the fact that we have a pro-education governor, you know, despite the fact that we have, you know, fairly high taxes compared to other places in the country, we are, I believe, 43rd in the country in per pupil funding.
Really?
And so if you look at Marin County, where, you know, most people just assume Marin is incredibly wealthy, you know, all schools must be taken care of, all kids must be getting the same level of education, it's just not true. And so even the districts that are, you know, incredibly privileged, ones, say Mill Valley, for example, which I'm the most familiar with, even that district, with its PTA funding, with the funding from Kiddo, which is our school foundation that Tricia started 35 years ago, even with those and with local parcel taxes, we only get up to the average funding nationwide. And, you know, I think that is a shocking statistic to people, because that's what's happening in, you know, the most privileged of our Marin County communities. So Schools Rule, you know, will be around for a long time. We need it forever. You know, Tricia, when she started Kiddo, thought it would be a stopgap measure, because certainly people would value education enough to put their money behind it, and that didn't happen. So here we are 35 years later, not only with Kiddo, but with foundations in almost every district in Marin, and even that isn't enough, which brings us to Schools Rule.
Goodness.
it's a pretty bleak situation when you look at schools funding. And the amazing thing is, I mean, school districts are doing an amazing job with the funds they have. But the fact is, kids need programs like the arts and music and technology and literacy. And these are the areas that Schools Rule supports.
You know, I'm always surprised when I read that. I think, am I reading this correctly? When I read that they don't teach art and music in schools anymore and things like that. And
There are some pretty shocking statistics around the state. In Marin, we are lucky because we have schools foundations. There is Schools Rule, which actually saved music program in San Rafael and supports an art program in Novato. But there are many, many districts in California where there is no art and music. So we want to be sure that all the kids have those opportunities. One of the other kind of shocking facts, I think, and this is part of the reason that Schools Rule came together, is that, you know, as Emily alluded to, people think Marin is a wealthy community. But the fact of the matter is that 25% of all the kids, that's 1 in 4, in our public schools qualifies for the free and reduced lunch program.
that is amazing.
Yeah.
It really is.
And it really, you know, education is a community responsibility. And so that's why, you know, Schools Rule is coming together for the whole community to come together to support, you know, to support these kids.
It's amazing.
And in larger districts like Novato and San Rafael, where we have so many different schools, and for example, Novato has 14 different schools, ranging from preschool all the way to our 2 comprehensive high schools. I think the message of Schools Rule is so important because it helps resonate within the community that you need to look beyond your own school. We need to think about the bigger picture. And it's so easy when your kid first gets started to think about just what's happening in this classroom, or maybe what's happening on the playground and what might be happening in the class next year. And I think that Schools Rule has, because of the platform that we have with the IJ ads and because of all of the great work that we're doing collectively, has really helped get the word out about people need to think about what comes next and what this means for all of us, not just what it means for my kid.
Right, I'm reading your ads.
Good.
Yeah, similarly, in San Rafael, we have 12 schools, and we go from kindergarten through high school as well. And it's really, just within our own district, we have such a wide range of socioeconomic status and funding and, you know, engagement at each school and how much money schools are able to raise, the PTAs and the PTOs. It's limited, and Tricia was talking about 25% of Marin kids. Within San Rafael district, it's about 62% qualify for free and reduced lunch. So a much higher percentage number of kids, our whole mission is to provide equitable opportunities for every child. And it's a natural fit with Schools Rule, because that's exactly what Schools Rule is doing. We're looking out for every kid in Marin, and we want them all to have the same opportunities. They all live in the same community. They play on the same sports teams. They should get the same enrichment classes as well.
And as a community, right, I mean, it really is, I think, all of our responsibility to come together and be sure that kids have equitable opportunities. But there's also a benefit to every single person in Marin County if we have kids that have a rich, deep education, and if they all come out at the same place, you know. So it's not just our responsibility, but truthfully, I believe everyone in Marin County gets something back out of it.
Oh, yes.
So I think this might be a good time to kind of show some of, you know, we talked about how we've been getting the message out. So this might be kind of a good time to talk about some of this. Was one of our very earliest pieces that was in the IJ, and this had to do with, I think this was 2012 or 13. But the fact of the matter is, so this was the the bake sale or the car wash? Which do you think has a better shot at raising $55 million? And $55 million was the amount that schools across Marin lost in just that 1 year because of the budget cuts. So we think that one is pretty amusing. These were some of the more recent ones that talk about the various 76 public schools, 35,655, that was last year's number. This year's number is 36,088. Students, unlimited economic disparities. It's time to address the inequality gap. Classic Marin by the numbers, $1.4 million average household net worth.
What?
1 in 4 kids qualifies for free lunches. It's time to address the inequality gap.
I
So
think the
these-
net worth is probably their house.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
and there's a strong correlation between high-quality public schools and good property values.
Yeah.
I just saw the National Bureau of Economics Reporting found last year that for every $1 increased in per pupil funding, there's a $20 increase in property values in that district.
Wait.
So, yes, it's a 20-to-1 return for the community.
Whoa. That's a great fact.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to.
I will send that to you.
Do send that to me.
Wow.
Anyway,
Yeah, I can
so
understand.
how did we go from this idea, this getting the message out about the needs of schools, to actually raising the money to provide the programs to disperse to the schools?
A lot of bake sales.
Well, the bake sale isn't going to do it, and
No.
neither is the car wash. I'm sorry to say. It would be nice, but it's not. So it was interesting because the IJ, first we started with the space, getting the word out about the needs of schools.
Oh, yeah.
And the next step was they said, well, this is a big contribution. It's wonderful to get the word out, but we'd like to challenge you to bring in sponsors to actually fund these programs that are needed in the schools. So that started our fundraising aspect. And we have, I should have brought the original one. This started with actually just 3 businesses on here. It says, people of Marin, go out of your way to support these businesses. They went out of their way to support you. And now we have a whole gamut of businesses that support Schools Rule. Now the interesting thing is each foundation still raises their own money for their own community. And Schools Rule raises additional money. Not in our market is not the parents, because the schools foundations individually ask the parents. But we're looking for those businesses that serve the entire community. Some of the banks, like for example, Redwood Credit Union has started a program where if you live in a 949 zip code and you use their debit or credit card, a percentage of every single time you use that card goes to Schools Rule.
Oh, my.
And we're looking to start a realtors program with a similar kind of thing. There's a payroll deduction program within the districts and the county office in Marin that we're working on. We have many banks and health organizations and lots of businesses that are now coming forth to support schools countywide. And for example, both like Wells Fargo, Redwood Credit Union, Bank of Marin said, finally, we've had all these individual schools foundations coming to us. How do we know where to give, how to give? And with this now, with one contribution, they know they are supporting every child in every public school in every district in Marin. So this has been helpful in some ways to them, to them as well. So the funds that we raise are distributed on a per student basis. Everybody benefits, no matter where you are. And it's first year, We raised about 20,000. Then it went to 200. Then it went to 400. Then it was like 440. Last year,
Thousand, you mean?
yeah, 440,000.
Yeah, wow.
Last year, we were able to distribute $607,000, which was absolutely wonderful. It was a 26% increase over the year before, and that's because the community the businesses, the community stepped up in a big way, and the Marin Community Foundation stepped up in a big way to support all of us working together on behalf of kids. Now, it's made a big difference in a lot of districts, and I'm going to have both Susan and Micheline talk a little bit about what an impact it's made in their districts.
Yes. Something, so specific things that you've done, or?
Yeah, we have an art program that Tricia mentioned, which in our district, art was all done by volunteer art docents, which is mostly parents or grandparents who come into the classroom and help. They had a kit that they would bring in, and they would talk about art and maybe do an art project, and those kits were 20 years old. And because of the school's rule money, we were finally able to invest in a new curriculum and training for the teachers. So now there's a program that volunteers are, of course, welcome to come in and help, but we've got support here at the school district, and we have materials in all of the schools so that all of the kids in all the elementary schools have a brand new fancy arts program. And that is so popular for the kids.
Right.
We've been able to support additional music classes in the middle and high schools, and just this last year, we were able to give individual enrichment grants. We used the additional money that was coming from Schools Rule to create something of, you tell us, what is it that you need? And it's the first time that many of these teachers and students have been able to say, you know, I've been wanting to do this. This is what we're going to try. And there have been some fabulous things that are all over the board. We've had a middle school class that got to do a walk through history where they were doing historical reenactments from ancient Greece. And we had another middle school class doing poetry workshops, and we've had an immigration workshop where they got to go to Angel Island. And I just was able to get some pictures yesterday of a high school class that went sailing on the bay. They have a marine biology class at San Marin High School, and they were able to take a sailing ship out on the bay, and so the kids could actually see what they've been reading about in the books, because that makes such a difference to them. So it's really exciting to be able to fund things that help make school so much more engaging for the students and help them understand what it is that this education is going to be able to help them go out and do in the real world.
Oh, wow. That's really bringing it to them.
It is.
Yeah, and in San Rafael, we've done a lot around music thanks to the Schools Rule distribution. So we fund currently 2nd through 5th grade music at 8 of our elementary schools, and we're adding 1st grade next year, and that is thanks to the increasing distributions coming from Schools Rule. And then we also fund in our middle school, we help fund the after-school enrichment programs, which include a lot of music. We have a marching band that competes and does very well.
I just want to say it's the only marching band in Marin County. So we're so thrilled that we helped make that happen.
They just played at the A's baseball game last week. So we're very proud of them. They do such a great job, and our other middle school is also working on putting together a marching band now as well. And
they won't be the only anymore.
Yeah. And just a lot of other wonderful. We have a makers club at the middle school, and a color guard that goes out with the marching band. So just lots of opportunities for kids to do these programs around music and around technology and really being creative. And then we also fund programs at the high school, and we have been funding for the last few years. Each high school has a college consultant, so students can go in and get help with applications and how to apply for financial aid, and lots of really valuable information to make sure all of our students have access to continue their education. And it's been really exciting to see. Similar to Novato, we also offer teachers an opportunity to request money. We do teacher mini grants. So for smaller projects that they would like to do, and some of the things these kids are doing is amazing. We had one school has a book club. They read a book about Alcatraz, and then the students went to Alcatraz with the teacher and got to actually see what they had just read about in the story. Another group got this Lego build kit where they actually are putting together electronic circuits and making their Lego creations move. And there's so many different
engineering
learnings
Mm-hmm.
going on there.
Wow.
And we had one of our high school classes was able to get a new digital camera for their photography class, and they are doing all kinds of great photography work and then working with it in Photoshop. And I mean, the list goes on, just some amazing
My goodness.
access to different creative outlets they're also complementing their core academic studies as well.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all things that really, without the school rules funding, kids wouldn't have access. And
Yeah.
some of these are really, really basic, and
Yeah.
things that we took for granted when we were
Right,
kids,
sure,
that
right.
everyone, had PE, everyone had art, everyone got to sing. And, we know from research, not only does that add, of course, to the richness and the depth of the kids' lives, but also it helps them to do better in their core academic subjects. And
I thought we had a marching band when I was at Sanderville High.
They probably did.
That was many years ago, though, you understand, but yeah. So that's good. That's just wonderful.
The other thing, though, that I don't know, that I feel very proud of is that very first year when we distributed the funds at the height of the recession.
Yeah.
The Schools Rules Fund saved a librarian's position in Novato, saved a music teacher's position in San Rafael,
Oh, wow.
and did so many other things throughout the community. But those were absolutely just critical
that was
times. And now
wonderful.
we're growing, and we're just keeping our fingers crossed that there isn't another recession that hits schools again. Anyway.
Yeah, I'd like to mention too
Yeah.
that in addition to music and literacy and technology, which I think we talked a little bit about, we also fund programs that support wellness, and that's a program area that Schools Rule added to its portfolio
Yes, yeah.
just in the last couple of years. And one of the most exciting things that's being done in that area is the TAM High School District that's funding the student wellness centers
Yeah.
with the grant money from Schools Rule. And I think that it's really important that we acknowledge that students, in order to be able to be successful, have to be well, and they have to be taken care of as a whole person.
Is what kind of help can they get? They don't feel like they can go down and check in and.
There's counseling available. They're doing workshops with the kids, helping them with social and emotional health, helping them with dealing with peer pressure, a lot of different things.
navigating
Alcohol
realities,
awareness, yeah.
right.
Also, Dixie School District uses their funding to fund a counselor in the middle school, so that there can be. I mean, the statistics in California are, I don't know, it's like one counselor for every, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000 kids. I don't know what the
Right.
exact number is, but
A number that's way more than any one counselor could possibly
Right,
know.
right.
So
Yeah.
anything that can be done in that area to help kids, because we're looking at the whole child. So all of these things are very, very important. Another thing, when we're talking about how we come together as a community, how we raise funds for Schools Rule, started with a partnership with the Marin County Fair. A number of, this will be our 5th event, so 5 years ago. And when we were looking at, okay, how can we raise funds, we're thinking, okay, Marin County Fair, all these kids, it's a family event, it's a kid event. What if they would just add $1 to their ticket price? And that was a nice pipe dream, because during the recession, their budget was being cut as well. But the director of cultural services then was Jim Farley. He's since retired. Anyway, he came back to us and he said, well, we can't do that. But he said, how about if we had Schools Rule as the theme partner? Each year they have a theme. And so we thought, wonderful. So Schools Rule was the theme partner. We were able to bring, it was a great partnership because the whole focus of the fair was then on education.
Oh, my goodness.
And we were able to bring Makers Fair, a robotics competition, and all sorts of things. I mean, they've always done a fabulous job with art shows and poetry and writing and all of these things in education, but we added, I think, some speech and some this and some that, and anyway, it was a great opportunity. It also helped get the Schools Rule name out.
Right.
But in addition, we now have an event that happens a night or two before the fair opens in their big pavilion tent where they have their main stage music. And with that, we have, and this was last year's.
Oh, okay, let's see.
Last year it was Tuesday, June 28th. This year it's going to be Wednesday, June 28th.
Oh.
It's always a day or two before the fair opens. We have with 500 people. We have all sorts of businesses and individuals
A
that
dinner,
support.
a dinner and entertainment.
Yes.
Right. And buy tickets. We have student entertainment that are just fabulous seeing these kids. We have a great dinner that's donated by the Nugget Markets. We have, it's a wonderful, fun event. They have the Ferris wheel going. People get to ride the Ferris wheel. So we're hoping that we have a lot of community members that attend. We have new businesses that will sponsor, and it's just a great opportunity for everybody to be involved in celebrating our schools.
And if anybody who's watching would like to get a ticket, where should they find one?
Good point.
You happen to have some, right?
Actually, the best, we don't have actual physical tickets, but at our website, www.schoolsrule.org, you can go on and click through and purchase tickets or learn more about sponsorship. Anybody can call us or email us with questions. We'd love to add new sponsors to.
Now, you say
To our
your
group.
website again, and you say your phone number, so if anybody wants, then we'll say it later in the program, too, if people want to write this down.
Okay, the website is www.schoolsrule.org.
Okay.
Okay, and the phone number is, the best phone number is right here, 415-491-6680. And you can always just do info@schoolsrule.org as well and get through to us.
And we have a great Facebook page. If anybody wants to see
Oh,
pictures from
right.
last year's event, they can look at
Oh, my
those there. And
goodness.
many of the old ads and
Right.
photos of different events that are going on in schools throughout the county. It's
Oh, my
a pretty interesting place to poke around.
Yes.
So one of the things, it's like, why support Schools Rule? It supports every district, every foundation, every school, and every child in Marin Public Schools. It helps promote equity for Marin students in schools. It promotes collaboration among the 19 school districts in Marin. And good schools are important for our community, and supporting Schools Rule is also good for business. So we're hoping to, as I said, any business can support, any individual can support. And it's only with everybody coming together that we're going to make that difference. We distributed $600,000 last year. We
Of
would
what?
$600,000 to the school, to the
Dollars.
Dollars.
Of dollars, okay.
$600,000 to the schools' foundations last year on a per student basis.
Wow.
And we would love to be able to bring that to $1 million. And that's a big, lofty goal.
Wow.
But if everybody comes together, we think we can do that.
As Tricia said, Schools Rule, right, we're getting out of our infancy. And I think that growth is all about the collaboration that really is led by Tricia and Mary Jane Burke to get buy-in from all 19 school districts and foundations, and all the personnel that are involved there to, really come to this, to be excited to collaborate, to be looking at really the big picture in Marin is really a testament to what they've been able to do. And then, of course, to our businesses who realize just how important equity is and a quality education for all kids.
Oh, yes.
And maybe this is a good point to cut to our little video that
Oh,
we
okay.
have.
You brought a video that, what, tells more about schools rule? or-
Yes, it's just a little 1 minute, little over a minute video, and we're going to insert that here.
Okay. So we'll wait and see what happens here with the video. Tell us about the foundation of this video so that we can appreciate everything about it.
Oh, well, the video is, again, thanks to our wonderful partners, Venables Bell,
Aha.
who who donate all of our graphics, our logo, our ads, our posters. This is one that I think we could probably see from the camera. This was part of our bus shelter. The CBS Outdoors gives us space in there on our bus shelters. And the ad that we came up with was, or that Venables Bell came up with, a few miles from where you're sitting, there are kids who go to school hungry. And the interesting thing is no matter where you are in Marin, that is true. And if you look at, for example, Tiburon is only 7 miles from the canal. And yet they are worlds apart in terms of equality and in terms of resources and such. And so we think that these are very serious messages that we think a lot of people just don't realize in Marin. I know for the years that I was the executive director of Kiddo, we would talk at our board retreats about, gee, isn't it wonderful we're able to raise the money here, but what about our neighbors? What about other communities that aren't? We never had the mechanism to be able to really kind of to reach out. So this is an opportunity for everybody to come together in order to make that happen for all kids. But it was, again, it was just so surprising to me. I had no idea that 25% of the kids in Marin County qualified for the free lunch program. So it's just something that I think people need to be aware. Need to be aware that education is a community responsibility, that we all need to pitch in, no matter where your kids are, no matter if you have kids in public school, in private school, if you don't have kids at all, if you're a grandparent, if you're a business, whatever you are, good schools make our communities stronger, and we all need to work together to make that happen.
I keep annoying my grandchildren because I think college is the most important thing that they can do as long as the family's able to send them and whatnot. And oh my goodness, I have one grandson on the East Coast, and I've had a lot of interesting talks with him. He went out and got a job for the summer, and he wasn't going to go to college, but he got a job for the summer, and it was so interesting with the city of Williamsburg to do with their historic artifacts and stuff and the tourists. And I thought, I can't tell him to quit that. That's marvelous. And then I get a call from him, and he says, guess what? He says, that I just found out that the city, which she works for the city pays your way over at the University of Virginia, and I'm going to take a couple classes.
Oh.
I said, oh, that's wonderful, Mark. I didn't have to wring his neck or anything, But I really have pushed with the, with the grandchildren because and my own children, let me tell you about it. But they all finished college, and I just think that's the most important thing you can do is get an education.
Well, it is, and we have so many students in Marin who have families that support those goals, and then we have other students who have parents who were never exposed to college, who may not have even finished high school. And I think it's so great that through the funding from Schools Rule, we're able to at least give students the opportunity to see a different path, to look at what that might look like, to take a field trip to a college and to meet with a college counselor and to see that opportunity is there if that's what they want to do with their lives, that they don't have to be limited.
We have such a wonderful local community college, College of Marin.
Right.
We do.
Yes.
Yeah, and
We're
it
also
just-
one of our supporters.
That's right.
They're one of our supporters too.
Yeah, well,
And they've
right.
been a fabulous partner.
Because when it comes, education, college is the goal, but education actually starts in preschool
Oh, of course.
and
And
moves to
never
the
ends.
elementary school. And unless you get that solid foundation in your elementary school, moving on to middle school, moving on to high school, you have to be ready to go to college. And it really does start at preschool and move up. So it's very, 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 very important.
And if you have a good time, a reasonably good time in kindergarten and first grade and whatnot.
Right, if it's not
That
torture.
helps.
Yeah, no, right, right.
The programs keep kids stimulated.
Yeah, right.
I mean, a lot of
Keep
what we're
them
talking
interested
about here.
and fun and whatnot, sure.
Yeah.
I have one other
Oh, you've got such interesting things.
ad that I want to share.
Wow.
Which this one is, thank you to the kind, caring souls of Marin who gave unselfishly to our public school children. Yes, that's a guilt trip for everyone else. So this is kind of the message that we want everybody to know that they can participate at whatever level. It's just that participation that is so important.
And it really is the only way to impact every child, every public school child in Marin County. There aren't groups like this. That's what's revolutionary about this, is that it's kind of one-stop shopping to impact every child. And I would add that it's all volunteers who work on it.
Yeah.
So the overhead is incredibly low. You can't get better bang for your buck anywhere. There are very, very few charities who spend less than 10% of what they bring in on overhead. And Schools Rule,
I think it's about
it's-
one.
Yeah, it is. It couldn't get any lower. It's really about printing up some invitations and small things like that. But all of the work is done by volunteers, so it really goes directly to the kids.
That's just wonderful. No, you're doing wonderful work, and I know this is just going to be so interesting to really put it all together and see the program. So
I would also like to say, if people are looking at the website, which I hope they do, there is a section where you can go and see exactly how much was distributed to each of the schools' foundations and what they're spending their money on this year. And it is kind of interesting, as we mentioned before, it's all in the area of arts, technology, literacy, and health. And these are the kind of overarching areas. The other thing that I think is important to mention is the fact that the funds that we distribute are distributed directly to the school's foundations. And there's a reason for that. We feel that the school's foundation, they're the people in the districts, call them kind of the boots on the ground, that know the greatest needs in their specific community.
each school has a foundation, you mean, that you're talking about?
Each
district.
district.
Okay.
And there are a few of the smaller districts that don't, and when they don't, what that means is the funds are distributed to the district itself. I mean, there's some very small Lincoln Union, some very small districts kind of out in western Marin.
One room.
Yeah, schoolhouses.
districts,
Oh.
But again, all those funds are spent on these 4 program areas.
Mhm.
The other reason that it goes through the foundations is that then we know that the funds, there's no bureaucracy. The funds go directly to programs, and we feel that that also is important.
Wow. Well, you're doing wonderful work. Is there anything more specific that you can think of that you could share with us that your work has provided?
Well, I could read this statement
All right.
that we have, at the heart of schools Rule Marin lie 2 fundamentally important principles. 1, all children in all communities, regardless of personal or district resources, deserve equitable educational opportunities. And 2, we share a collective responsibility to look beyond our neighborhoods and individual school districts to ensure that all districts have the resources they need to meet the needs of their students. And we just feel so strongly. The other thing I wanted to mention is Mary Jane Burke, our county superintendent of schools, and I were asked to speak at a National Association of Schools Foundation regional conference down in San Diego.
Oh, my.
And so we went down to tell them about schools
Oh,
rule.
wow.
And, to try and get the idea of working together. And it was kind of amazing to me how everybody says, how do you do that? How do you get people to actually work together? Because they're so, as we talked about earlier, they're so, as parents,
Yeah.
you're looking your child, and then you're looking at your classroom, and then your school, and then your district. And how do you look even beyond that to all children? And that's the message that we're trying to get across, that education is everybody's responsibility.
I think another really important note that I've heard Tricia say often is we are not taking away, we're in addition to. And I think that's really important. I mean, I think that sometimes the fear of collaboration is somehow it'll take away from something you're already doing, but Schools Rule has been really good about not infringing on the work that's already being done by individual foundations, but really adding to it and making it bigger than any individual foundation could achieve.
And I think it's true that no matter how successful the individual foundations are in Marin, and we have some that are fabulously successful, that the contribution that they get through Schools Rule is their single largest contribution. I think that's true for all of them now.
Not maybe
Maybe
for
not
all,
all,
but
almost all.
Most.
Yes.
You mean
few.
foundations for specific schools?
Yeah,
They're
schools
for the school districts.
School districts. These are not, so each district in Marin, some of them, as we mentioned, are like single room schoolhouses. But others like Novato have 14 schools, or San Rafael 12 schools. Mill Valley has 6 schools. Reed has 3 schools. Kentfield has 2 schools. Larkspur, Corte Madera now has 3 schools. So, so all of these schools come together under the district umbrella and under their schools foundation umbrella. So that you have that, then you have the Schools Rule umbrella, which brings together each of these organizations, which are their own 501c3s. So they all have independent boards, they all have independent resources, but they all come together again on behalf of all kids. And this is a wonderful concept. When we first started, I must say, it wasn't unanimous. There were some people who said, well, what about my music program in my district? And what about
my donor? You're not going to talk to my donor.
Right, and so there was, a little bit of, our NIMBYism in Marin County. But then people began to realize the benefit of working together. And so now everybody is, on board.
Right. Let's re-announce what your phone number is and your website, schoolsrule.org.
Yes.
And the phone number, 415-491-6680.
Yes.
If you want more information, or you
Yeah.
want to volunteer, or
Yeah.
donate, or
Oh, yeah.
all kinds of good things. Well, let's we have a few more minutes where we can tell about your good work.
Well, I hope people will watch this program and have learned more about Schools Rule and the, fundamentally incredible work and collaboration that's happening, and what it means, individually to the kids who now get to go to library, or the kids who get to do a music class they wouldn't have been able to do, or to play, with all of the makers, tools, and I mean, it impacts each individual kid's lives truly in Marin County, and there just aren't organizations that do that. But I also hope people will walk away knowing that we really have a funding problem. We have an education funding problem in California, and this, we have had it for 40 years, right? So it's not going away. It doesn't appear to be going away, despite many people's best efforts. And this is really one of the only ways to support public schools, and it is, I believe, the only way to support every child. And it's a testament to, I think, our community, to the foundations, to Tricia, to Mary Jane, to even come up with the idea, right? To think outside of the box and say, how can we, get out of our own little communities and really look at the bigger picture. And thankfully, so many businesses and individuals have stepped up and, said, I get it, and I want to, look outside of my community and be able to benefit my community. And, everyone in Marin County truly benefits.
And I wanted to say that this is our thank you ad for our last event, and wanted to say for any businesses that might be listening that we have sponsorships that start at $5,000 for our silver sponsor and go on up. Also, some businesses purchase a table, which includes 12 seats, $3,000, and then they bring either their clients or their staff, or invite community members that can come to the event. We also have lots of people who buy individual tickets to come to the event. It's really fun. It's also a chance to kind of be on the fairgrounds without the crowds. We have our own crowd, and that's
preview. And this is right before the fair begins.
Yes,
Okay,
it's
you
2
watch
days.
for
The
that.
fair this year starts on Friday, and this event is on Wednesday. Wednesday before. It is kind of an odd time for a school event in the middle of summer, when a lot of people are on vacation. Most school events are during school, during the school year. But this is such an amazing opportunity to work with the fair, to be there on the fairground at the Civic Center, which is kind of the heart of Marin. So it's just that perfect opportunity.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, look at all the people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lots of people right there.
If you think about the fair as a celebration of Marin,
Yeah.
This night is a celebration of our schools and of our children and
Yeah.
the community that comes together to support them.
Oh, right. No, that's wonderful. Well, in closing, is there any closing remarks you'd like to make here? You've done a wonderful job telling about this group, and those who are interested can call 415-491-6680 and see how they could maybe get involved, or their school could maybe get involved, or check out their other activities on www.schoolsrule.org. How am I doing?
Great.
So, you've just done a wonderful job, and I'm very impressed. I really am. To putting 4 children through school. I know how important the extracurricular activities, the music and the art and things like that, are for them. And I think it's wonderful that all of the other work that you're doing. It's just amazing. So, would you like to make some closing remarks here?
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to come on your show. I think that really important that we reach out and talk to other members of the community wherever we can find them. And I know that a lot of them watch your show, and so we're so happy to be
Well.
here today.
Good, I'm glad you were able to be on, and you brought so much information, and I love all these ads that you've saved, my goodness.
Well, those of us who've been working in the schools for years know it's really important for show and tell, that you have to have. That's right.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate what Susan said. Thank you for having us here today. It's always nice to be able to tell our story and get the word out. And the more people that we can tell about Schools Rule and about the foundations, the more
Right.
people want to get involved. I think once people hear our story, it's sort of a no-brainer to say, oh, yeah, that makes
No,
sense, and what can I do?
That's just great.
So we want to thank you, and also we want to offer that if you have groups of people, we're happy to come out and talk to your group as well.
Oh, good, good. Well, you have the phone number here and the website. And Emily?
Oh, thank you for having us, and thank you everyone who's watching. I hope that everyone who sees this program tells 20 people about
Yes.
Schools Rule, because really it's all about
Oh.
getting the information out there. I don't think there's anyone in Marin County who wouldn't support the mission of Schools Rule, but we just need more people to know about it and how impactful it is to our kids.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank Susan Matthews and Micheline Moyetti. How am I doing? And Tricia Garlock and Emily Olhorn. And I want to thank you for your contribution here and all the wonderful information that you brought about Schools Rule. So please look it up. If our listeners look and see how they can perhaps help, because every group needs a little help.
Thank you.
So for a public advocate, this is Shirley Graves, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.